On April 5, 2025, the ongoing Russo-Ukrainian conflict reached a tragic milestone as a Russian missile strike on Kryvyi Rih, the hometown of Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy, resulted in the deaths of 19 individuals, including 9 children. The attack has been described as one of the deadliest in recent months, serving as a stark reminder of the continued toll the war exacts on civilians. The missile strike occurred in a residential area, impacting a street adjacent to playgrounds and ordinary homes. Regional Governor Serhiy Lysak reported that more than 30 people were hospitalized due to the attack, with the youngest victim being only 3 months old. This horrifying incident underscores President Zelenskyy's assertion that Russia shows no inclination toward peace. People die every day. There is only one reason why this continues: Russia does not want a ceasefire, and we see it. The whole world sees it. Zelenskyy stated emphatically on social media. In the wake of the missile strike, Western leaders have intensified calls for an end to hostilities. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, addressing NATO foreign ministers in Brussels, indicated that clarity on Russia's intentions regarding peace talks could be expected in the coming weeks. He expressed hope that the Kremlin would take genuine steps toward a resolution, stating, "We will know soon enough, in a matter of weeks, not months, whether Russia is serious about peace or not." The Kremlin's narrative diverges sharply from that of Ukrainian officials, with Russian defense sources claiming the strike targeted a military gathering. This assertion has been met with skepticism from Ukraine, which accused Russia of spreading disinformation. The General Staff of Ukraine's military condemned the attack, emphasizing that it was not aimed at any military facility but rather aimed at civilians, illustrating a blatant disregard for international humanitarian norms. The human cost of the conflict continues to rise, with the latest attack in Kryvyi Rih following a previous assault in Kharkiv, which also resulted in civilian casualties. Zelenskyy's administration has declared 3 days of mourning for the victims of the latest attack, with local leaders expressing outrage over the continuous assaults on civilian infrastructure. Oleksandr Vilkel, head of the Kryvyi Rih City Defense Council, condemned the strike as a massacre of civilians, reflecting the broader sentiment among Ukrainian officials and citizens alike. While the situation remains dire on the ground, recent discussions among NATO allies have focused on potential security guarantees for Ukraine, which Russia has historically opposed. However, a shift in Moscow's rhetoric may be emerging, as Kirill Dmitriev, a senior Kremlin official, hinted at a willingness to consider security guarantees, albeit cautiously. This acknowledgement could suggest a readiness to engage in negotiations, although skepticism remains high given the ongoing military actions. The international community's response continues to evolve, with leaders from the US and Europe emphasizing the need for a unified stance against Russian aggression. The potential for increased sanctions looms as pressure mounts on Russia to adhere to diplomatic discussions rather than prolonging the conflict through military means. As the war enters its 4th year, the humanitarian crisis deepens, with civilians bearing the brunt of the violence. The fate of the conflict lies in the balance, hinging on diplomatic efforts and the international community's response to Russia's actions. Observers remain watchful, hoping for a breakthrough that could lead to a long-awaited ceasefire, while the specter of further violence looms large over Ukraine. The coming weeks will be critical in determining whether peace is a feasible prospect or merely a distant hope. In a grim escalation of the ongoing conflict, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has reported a devastating missile strike on his hometown of Kryvyi Rih, which left at least 19 dead, including 9 children. This attack, described as one of the deadliest of the year, underscores the profound humanitarian crisis that continues to unfold as the Russo-Ukrainian war enters its 4th year. Zelenskyy, visibly shaken by the loss of innocent lives, articulated a stark message on social media: "There is only one reason why this continues: Russia does not want a ceasefire, and we see it. The whole world sees it." The missile strike, characterized by local officials as a ballistic missile attack, has drawn international condemnation and heightened calls for accountability. Regional Governor Serhiy Lysak confirmed that over 30 individuals, including a 3-month-old baby, were hospitalized due to the incident. The attack not only inflicted tragic casualties but also damaged multiple residential buildings, exacerbating the plight of civilians who have borne the brunt of the ongoing hostilities. In a broader context, the attack reflects a pattern of aggression from Russia, as Secretary of State Marco Rubio emphasized during a NATO meeting in Brussels. He articulated that the world would soon ascertain whether Russia was genuinely interested in pursuing peace or merely delaying negotiations as it continues its military operations. "We will know soon enough, in a matter of weeks, not months, whether Russia is serious about peace or not," Rubio asserted, indicating that diplomatic efforts may soon reach a critical juncture. Compounding the complexities of the situation, Russia has been accused of disseminating misinformation regarding the strike, claiming it was targeting military personnel. However, Ukrainian officials have vehemently rebutted these assertions, labeling them as attempts to obscure the reality of Russia's aggression against civilian populations. This latest violation of the norms of international human rights shows that it is in no way seeking peace but rather intends to continue its invasion and war to destroy Ukraine and all Ukrainians, stated a representative from Ukraine's military. As the conflict rages on, international dynamics are shifting. The United States and its allies have intensified discussions surrounding military support for Ukraine, with plans for potential foreign troop deployments being considered. Zelenskyy mentioned that an understanding regarding the presence of foreign troops could be reached within a month, a development that could significantly alter the tactical landscape. Meanwhile, NATO Secretary-General Mark Rutte highlighted that the ball is in Russia's court regarding peace negotiations, signaling a united front among allied nations in their approach to the ongoing crisis. This sentiment was echoed by Zelenskyy, who reiterated that the world must exert pressure on Russia to abandon its military ambitions and seek a resolution to the conflict. "Only the world's pressure on Russia, all efforts to strengthen Ukraine, our air defense and our forces, can determine when the war will end," he stated. Looking to the future, the situation remains fraught with uncertainty. As humanitarian crises deepen and the international community grapples with the implications of continued hostilities, the coming weeks may prove pivotal. The world watches closely, hoping for a shift towards diplomacy rather than further bloodshed. Whether Russia will engage constructively in peace talks remains to be seen. But the urgency for resolution has never been more pronounced as the specter of war continues to loom over Ukraine. In a perplexing display of strategic duality, Russian President Vladimir Putin is navigating a complex geopolitical landscape marked by both overtures toward diplomatic engagement with the United States and a sustained military assault on Ukraine. This two-faced strategy has led many experts to speculate on Putin's intentions and the implications for both U.S.-Russia relations and the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. This week saw Kirill Dmitriev, a close ally of Putin and head of the Russian Sovereign Wealth Fund, visit Washington for diplomatic discussions, the highest-level Kremlin official to visit the U.S. since the invasion of Ukraine. While this may appear to signal a thaw in relations, Putin simultaneously ordered the mobilization of 160,000 troops, marking the largest troop increase in 14 years. And intensifying drone attacks on Ukrainian cities. Such actions raise questions about the sincerity of Russia's peace overtures, as Putin appears to be leveraging the time gained through diplomatic discussions to further entrench Russia's military position in Ukraine. Sergei Redchenko, a Cold War historian, posited that Putin believes time is on his side, suggesting that by prolonging negotiations he can strengthen his bargaining position while advancing military objectives. This tactic has frustrated Western officials, who see Russia's reluctance to engage in meaningful ceasefire talks as a deliberate strategy of obfuscation. British Foreign Secretary David Lammy criticized Putin's tactics, emphasizing, "We see you, Vladimir Putin. We know what you are doing." The situation has also created tensions within the U.S. administration. President Donald Trump expressed frustration over Putin's recent comments, suggesting that Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy should be removed from power. Trump, reportedly pissed off by Putin's stance, has advised against direct communication with the Russian leader until there is a commitment to a ceasefire. The sentiment among U.S. officials is that Russia's demands for a truce, which include extreme conditions that Ukraine would likely reject, reveal a lack of genuine interest in peace. Dmitryev's visit, while signifying a potential opening for diplomacy, is viewed more as a move to re-establish connections with Washington rather than an indication of a shift in Russia's military ambitions. Analysts suggest that his close ties to Putin and his background in international finance could allow him to engage in more substantive discussions. Dmitriev himself noted a positive dynamic in U.S.-Russia relations, although he notably downplayed the issue of Ukraine during his media appearances. Amid these diplomatic maneuvers, the brutality of the conflict continues unabated. A recent attack on Kryvyi Rih resulted in the deaths of 19 people, including 9 children, with over 30 individuals hospitalized. In the wake of the assault, Zelenskyy condemned the ongoing violence, asserting there is only one reason why this continues: Russia does not want a ceasefire, and we see it. The whole world sees it. As NATO representatives convened to discuss the mounting crisis, calls for a definitive response from Russia regarding the ceasefire intensified. French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot urged Moscow to clarify its intentions, swiftly emphasizing that the ball clearly is in the court of the Russians. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio echoed this sentiment, stating that the world requires clarity on Russia's commitment to peace. The juxtaposition of diplomatic overtures and military escalation encapsulates the unpredictable nature of the current geopolitical climate. With Putin seemingly intent on maintaining a dual approach, the path to peace remains fraught with uncertainty. As the conflict continues and both sides prepare for forthcoming offensives, the international community watches closely, awaiting a clearer signal from Moscow on its true intentions. The coming weeks will likely prove critical in determining whether a genuine effort toward peace can emerge from the chaos. In a dramatic turn of events, U.S. President Donald Trump recently highlighted a letter from Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy during a speech before Congress shortly after a contentious Oval Office meeting. The letter, described by Trump as important, expressed Zelenskyy's willingness to finalize a rare earth minerals deal that the Trump administration has been advocating for. This development comes on the heels of a significant freeze on U.S. military aid to Ukraine, raising questions about the future of U.S.-Ukrainian relations amid ongoing hostilities with Russia. During his address, Trump stated, "I appreciate that he sent this letter, just got it a little while ago." This remark underscores a desire to maintain diplomatic ties despite the recent tensions, which were palpable during Zelenskyy's visit to Washington when their planned signing ceremony was abruptly cancelled due to their clash. The contents of the letter align with a public statement from Zelenskyy, who expressed regret over the events of their meeting and emphasized the need for constructive cooperation moving forward. "It is time to make things right," Zelenskyy stated, signaling his commitment to continued dialogue. The backdrop to Trump and Zelenskyy's interactions is marked by escalating violence in Ukraine. In a harrowing series of attacks, Russian missile strikes in Kryvyi Rih claimed the lives of at least 23 individuals, including 9 children. Zelenskyy condemned these actions, labeling them as inhuman and indicative of Russia's refusal to pursue peace. "Every missile, every drone strike proves Russia wants only war," he asserted, calling for increased international pressure on Moscow to cease its aggression. Trump, attempting to navigate the delicate balance between criticism and diplomacy, mentioned that his administration has been in contact with Russian officials, suggesting that there are indications from Russia of a willingness to negotiate an end to the conflict. "We've had serious discussions with Russia and have received strong signals that they are ready for peace. Wouldn't that be beautiful?" he posited. Though he faced skepticism regarding the sincerity of these signals, especially in light of Russia's recent military actions. CIA Director John Ratcliffe confirmed that the freeze on U.S. aid, which includes intelligence sharing, could be lifted if Zelensky's administration continues to express support for Trump. He indicated that positive diplomatic gestures from Ukraine could facilitate a return to cooperative military efforts against Russian aggression. As the situation evolves, Zelensky's appeals for further pressure on Russia highlight the urgency of international responses to the ongoing conflict. He criticized the U.S. Embassy's reaction to the missile strikes as insufficient, emphasizing the need for a more robust stance against Russia's continued military operations. "We must not be afraid to call a spade," he urged, stressing that real measures must be taken to curb Russia's military ambitions. While both the U.S. and Ukraine have indicated a desire for peace, the path forward remains fraught with challenges. Secretary of State Marco Rubio reinforced the notion that the U.S. is awaiting definitive actions from Russia to gauge its seriousness about negotiations. He remarked, "If there's a delay tactic, the president's not interested in that." The coming weeks are critical, with increased calls for sanctions against Russia from various quarters in Congress, underscoring a growing impatience with the Kremlin's tactics. As the world watches this precarious geopolitical landscape, the implications of these diplomatic exchanges will shape not only the immediate future of U.S.-Ukrainian relations but also the broader dynamics of the ongoing conflict in Ukraine, with both sides poised for possible escalation or negotiation. The international community remains on alert for any signs that could signal a shift toward peace or further violence. The stakes are undeniably high and the future remains uncertain as leaders navigate the complexities of war diplomacy and national sovereignty.